Do you know that feeling when you watch your team play and realize something isn't working like it used to? That's how we feel right now. The talent is still there. The grit is still there. But it seems like too much is falling on the shoulders of a single player. And that's not how you build something sustainable. If this team truly wants to return to dominance, changes need to happen. Smarter plays, more balance, more explosiveness, and a concrete plan to protect what really matters. This offseason isn't just about tweaking a few details, it's about fixing what we've all seen hasn't worked. And the big question is, will they do it the right way? I'll tell you all the details, but first, don't forget to like this post if you've been a Chiefs fan for more than 16 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. There are people here who have been wearing gold and red for over 30 years. All my respect. Now, I want to ask you something. What grade would you give Andy Reid? Do you think he's done a good job, or has he fallen short? Comment below. What Brett Veach just admitted in Indianapolis should grab every Chiefs fan by the shoulders and make you sit up a little straighter. Because for the first time in a long time, it feels like the front office is acknowledging something we've all been seeing on Sundays. At the NFL Combine, the Chiefs' general manager didn't dance around it. He didn't hide behind cliches. He said this team needs to get more explosive in the running game. And if you've watched the 2025 season unfold, you know exactly why that matters. Let's break this down carefully, because there's a lot between the lines here. Brett Veach made it clear that the Chiefs want more juice in the backfield. That's not a small statement. That's not casual off-season talk. That's an admission that what they had wasn't enough. We've all seen the struggles. We've watched Isaiah Pacheco fight for tough yards, but too often we also saw the running game stall, saw him run into congestion, saw drives become predictable. And when your ground game isn't threatening, everything falls back on Patrick Mahomes. And that's where this gets serious. Veach specifically tied the need for a better running game to Mahomes coming off injury. That's the key. The organization understands they cannot afford another season where it's Patrick, go figure it out. The past couple of years, the roster construction has leaned heavily on Mahomes masking imperfections. Skill positions were watered down. Investments were minimal at running back. And eventually, the bill came due. This season became the ultimate Mahomes save us year. And it ended with him hurt. That's not sustainable. There's an expectation now that the Chiefs are going to lean more heavily into a balanced offense in 2026. Veach's comments suggest they want a run game they can rely on, not just sprinkle in. That might even mean difficult conversations internally about play-calling tendencies. Andy Reid has always had moments where he drifts away from the run. But if the front office is investing real resources into the backfield, you better believe they'll expect that investment to be used. And here's where things get even more interesting. There have already been rumors connecting the Chiefs to running backs like Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, and Kenneth Walker. Now, we're not inventing anything here. Those names were brought up in discussion around potential moves. If Veach is publicly emphasizing explosiveness, and those rumors are circulating, that's not random. That's smoke that could very well point to something real. Historically, under Brett Veach, the Chiefs have not consistently poured major resources into running back. Yes, they spent a first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the past, and they drafted Isaiah Pacheco and others later. But since that first-round investment, the spending at the position has been minimal. In fact, it's been described as virtually nothing in recent years. That approach may be changing. The expectation now? They could sign a running back in free agency and draft one. Not necessarily a top 60 pick, but certainly not another 7th-round flyer. That would represent a philosophical shift, a real talent infusion, a signal to Mahomes that the burden will be shared. And let's not forget another important piece from Veach at the Combine: positional value in the draft. He emphasized drafting premium positions, offensive line and defensive line, because elite players at those spots rarely hit free agency. But he also acknowledged that some of the best players in this draft are not at premium positions. That's a fascinating tension. The Chiefs are picking 9th overall. With Mahomes at quarterback, that's not a position you expect to be in often. This pick has to count. Veach knows it. He understands that drafting for value matters, especially at edge rusher or tackle. But there's also a reality that sometimes the best football player available isn't at a textbook premium spot, and that opens the door to some serious debate. Should they prioritize an edge rusher if one is there? Absolutely. That's the traditional value play. Should they consider trading back if the top defensive linemen are gone? That's on the table. Would taking a right tackle surprise some fans? Probably. But protecting Mahomes has never been optional, and after failing to do it effectively last year, everything is under evaluation. There's also a broader philosophical shift hinted at here. Veach reportedly acknowledged that in recent years they were maintaining the roster, and now they need to rebuild it. That word matters. Rebuild doesn't necessarily mean tearing it down. It can mean retooling, but it confirms what many fans have suspected. The three-peat push came at a cost. The roster has holes, real ones. They have 6 draft picks and may need 6 starters. Cap space is tight. There are convertible contracts, roughly $60 million worth, that can be manipulated to create flexibility. But this isn't an off-season where Kansas City can just outspend everyone. They have to draft well, they have to be precise, and they cannot afford to miss at number 9. That's the reality Brett Veach laid out without fully spelling it out. This is not business as usual. This is a franchise recognizing that the margin for error has shrunk, that leaning entirely on Mahomes is dangerous, and that explosive playmakers, especially in the run game, are no longer optional. And here's where this entire situation becomes even more layered, because Brett Veach didn't just talk about explosiveness or positional value. He admitted something that should make every Chiefs fan pause for a second. He said that in recent years they were maintaining the roster, and now they need to rebuild it. That's not random wording. That's calculated. That's a general manager acknowledging that the aggressive push to chase history, to go for that three-peat, came with sacrifices. And those sacrifices have left this roster thinner than we're used to seeing in Kansas City. Let's be honest with ourselves. When you still have Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, there is talent here. This is not a barren franchise, but the gap between the Chiefs and some of the rapidly ascending teams in the NFL has narrowed, and in some areas, flipped. Other organizations have been stacking draft picks, getting younger, getting cheaper, and getting faster. The Chiefs, meanwhile, leaned into familiarity and comfort. That's something that was openly discussed, that too much value may have been placed on bringing back the same players instead of proactively drafting replacements and getting ahead of decline. And when you keep running it back without injecting enough young, high-end talent, eventually the ceiling drops. Now, combine that with limited cap flexibility. Yes, Veach mentioned there are about $60 million in convertible contracts that can be maneuvered. That gives them room to operate. But they are not walking into free agency as a top spender. This offseason will require creativity, discipline, and most importantly, precision in the draft. Because here's the reality. They have 6 picks. And those 6 picks might need to produce 6 contributors, possibly even 6 starters. That is enormous pressure. Normally, when the Chiefs draft late in the first round with Mahomes under center, they're looking for complementary pieces, players who can develop, players who can rotate in. This year feels different. Picking 9th overall, they are in position to land a blue-chip player, a true cornerstone. And that's why the trade-down conversation is so fascinating. If they trade down from 9 to somewhere like 14 or 15, that tells you something very specific. They didn't view anyone at 9 as a true franchise-altering piece. Teams do not move off premium slots unless their board flattens out. So if that happens, it will speak volumes about how they see this draft class. But if they stay at 9, then you're expecting impact, immediate impact. A player who not only starts, but eventually earns a second contract in Kansas City. Because missing at that spot sets you back multiple seasons, especially when you're already in what Veach subtly framed as a retooling phase. And let's circle back to protection for a second. One of the more controversial possibilities discussed was